wonderful. What a wonderful.
Major red flags in friendships and shit you should just absolutely not tolerate. Friends that don't celebrate your accomplishments or your wins with you, no matter how big or small it is. If you reached 5,000 people on TikTok and you were super excited and you told your friend and they just thought it was silly, or like, why do you even do TikTok? Stuff like that. Or you got married or had a baby and they just make it about themselves. She's not your friend at all. If someone only keeps you around for their convenience, say like they call you up because they want advice or they need something because they know you're loyal and you'll jump at the hat to help them. If you're always there for them, but they never reciprocate, or when they try to reciprocate, there's always an excuse of why they can't follow through, red flag. Someone who is cheap as fuck. I'm talking like they nickel and dime every little thing. And I understand like the economy is hard, everyone's struggling. But like if y'all go out to eat and they get really anal about the bill, I'm sorry, but if you're a good friend, y'all are probably consuming roughly around the same amount of food and probably close to the same amount of drinks. You don't need to be super psycho about it. If they get you coffee and then they like Venmo request you like, hey, I got you coffee, can you pay me back? Kind of stuff. Like, it is just so much easier to have friends that are both on the same wavelength of like treating each other because they love you and you're friends. Cheap as fuck people are not fun to be around. Friends that are in silent competition are like one of the worst friends to have because they don't really like you. They can never see you doing well because it makes them feel like they're doing less. They like don't even acknowledge that you do anything well. We all know the term energy vampires, but truly, like if you hang out with somebody and you feel more drained than you feel fueled with love and happiness and gratitude, those people are toxic and just need to go. If your friend gets possessive or territorial, where they almost kind of like isolate you away from other friends, family, boyfriend even, and those people that get like almost like upset with you if you don't text back in a timely manner, that is not healthy. Be wary of the people who act different in different situations. So if it's like you and them alone, they act a certain way. If you and that person are with like multiple other people and you can tell that they're just like a different person, that's super sketchy and it's not a good sign. If your friend always tries to make you feel insecure or gives you backhanded compliments as if they're like always wanting you to feel inferior, they're threatened and jealous and not good people. If you have a friend that's always talking shit about their other friend or other best friend to you, you know that they're doing it the same to the other friend about you. And look, we're all women, we all gossip, we all say things, but it's one thing to talk about a certain situation with somebody, talk about it, and then there's dragging someone through the mud. If anyone makes you feel pressured to do something that you wouldn't normally do, they're putting you in situations that make you feel uncomfortable. Those are the friends that your mama warned you about. Like, look, the person's not good for you. Don't be their friend. I feel like friendships like this kind of naturally end over time pretty easily because the one person realizes that they're not good people. They move on to their next victim. Nonetheless, even if you do have to end a friendship, it's never easy. But if you're a good person, you need to protect your peace, give your energy to people that appreciate it. I love you guys.
So many red flags when it comes to friendships, and if we don't pay attention to them, they will bite us in the ass. The number one and most crucial, if they view you as competition, that friendship is never going to be real, is never going to be genuine. Are they hanging out with you because they like hanging out with you, or do they want to be you? They're constantly competing. Or when they preach about good vibes, but all they do is complain 24/7. I think that's just a preference, not really a red flag. I just don't like complainers all the time. They only call you when they need something from you, whether it's a favor, it's advice. They do not care what you're doing at all. They do not care what your life is looking like. They're just using you. Just take, and give zero back. Ones with the backhanded compliments that are like, oh, I think if you lost some weight, this dress would look really good on you. Every single compliment is backhanded. Also, if they're super into social media, they use Instagram and TikTok and this and that, never respond to you, they never hype you up. That is only if they're actually like using those apps a lot. I think that's a little bit of a red flag. Another super important one is if they talk shit about everyone, like even their closest friends, their besties, they're probably talking shit about you too, which sucks, but it's true. Super hard cutting off a friend, especially if it's your friend for years and years. But if you constantly feel shitty after hanging out with them, then it's just a sign to let them go.
One of the biggest friendship red flags to pay attention to is the neutral friend. Now, this mostly applies to friend groups, and whenever there's conflict between two people and you have that friend that doesn't want to get involved and just wants to remain neutral. I talked about this on my page before, but when I was in college, I had a friend group and I found out that one of my friends was talking poorly about me behind my back and threatening me, and my other friends decided to remain neutral. And if you have a friend who wants to remain neutral in situations like this, that shows me a couple things. One, that you would rather keep the peace than stand up for what's right. So 2, your moral compass is flawed. And 3, you're not my friend. Now, it's different when you have a friend who wants everyone involved to come to a resolution and take accountability. That is a good friend. But when your friend decides to remain neutral in situations where you are clearly being disrespected and wronged, that is a red flag, and that is not your friend.
Here are the biggest red flags in female friendships that are not talked about enough that I learned the hard way, so hopefully you don't have to. This is the highly requested part 2. Number 1 is if you are ever friends with someone who is constantly talking shit about people and then still hanging out with them. It is one thing to talk shit about someone that you truly don't like, whatever. We all do it. Still not the best. But if you have a friend and they're constantly talking shit about people and then be like, ugh, but I'm hanging out with her tomorrow. It's like, bruh, like that is a fake ass person. And if they're talking shit about their other friends, they're talking shit about you. Learn that one the hard way. Number 2, which I feel like is never talked about, is people who are super disrespectful to their parents. I feel like growing up, we all had that friend that was so rude to their parents, and they had the nicest parents, and you would sit there and listen to them talk to their parents, and you would be like, I would get my ass beat for this. There are people who I swear still to this day have not outgrown that. If you meet someone like that, cut them off immediately, because it is a sign that they're just so immature and disrespectful and a brat, and you don't need that in your life. Number 3 is friends who make you feel like you literally need to be their mommy all the time. Once in a while, we all have our bad moments, but when you get to college, you will meet people who prioritize all of the wrong things all the time. They act like idiots. They get drunk. They do stupid things. They don't go to class. Like, they just have nothing together in, like, their life. And we all have those moments, but for someone to be draining you all the time and never saying thank you, never appreciating it, like, almost being mad at you for trying to help them get together, like, leave them alone. They can figure it out for themselves. Being friends with someone like that is just not good for you. You can't save everyone and help everyone get their shit together, and the sooner you realize that, especially in college, the better off you are. Number 4 is friends who don't respect your time. These are the friends who will be like, oh yeah, I'll be there in 20 minutes, and then aren't there for an hour and a half, or friends who will bail on you for their boyfriend, bail on you for other plans, more fun stuff comes up, and they don't want to hang out with you. Just people who have a total lack of respect for any of your time and are always bailing on you or just making you wait. Get better friends. There are friends who will not do that to you.
Friendship blindness is a real thing, and these are a few things that I tolerated and was actually blind to. Blind. These are things that I no longer let people make me feel bad for, because I realized it wasn't a me problem, it was a you problem. Number 1, I should not feel forced to take your relationship advice, especially if your track record is down in the dumps. If you have gone from toxic relationship to toxic relationship and you have never experienced a healthy relationship in your life, I should not feel forced to take your relationship advice. And on top of that, you are not allowed to be butthurt and disappointed and angry with me when I don't take it. I have dealt with this way too much with a lot of friends who would give me unsolicited relationship advice where I'm literally sitting there like, why am I taking advice from you, Sarah? I literally watch you change your entire personality the moment you meet a guy. I see you completely forget your friends the moment you get a boyfriend. I see how codependent you are with this person where you can't hang out with anyone unless you have him stringing along with you, hanging at your very arms. But the moment I get into a relationship, you have so much to say. And suddenly you're telling me that I need to dump this guy because he is screaming toxic red flags to you. Honey, you wouldn't see healthy green flags if they smacked you in the face. Because to you, toxic is healthy and healthy is toxic. And I should not feel forced and feel bad for not taking your advice. Secondly, if you start acting passive aggressive towards me because I chose not to take that advice, that's on you, boo. Because I'm only going to take advice from somebody who shows me a relationship that I am striving for. Not the bum that you picked up last weekend and now you're in love. And I swear to God, when you come to me and you're like, you're picking him over me, no, honey, I'm choosing not to take your advice. Even if the guy wasn't even in the storyline, I would still not choose to take your advice. 3, this leads me to where they project all of their misfortunes and terrible behavior onto you. Suddenly they're like, well, you're picking the guy over me. No, honey, that's what you've been doing this whole time. You find a boyfriend, you forget who your friends are. You find a boyfriend and it's like, Jerry said this, Jerry said do this, Jerry loves pie, so now I love pie. And then comes the double whammy where it's like, well, I'm just trying to help you. Did I ask for your help, honey? Did I ask for your advice? No, I didn't. You just gave it to me without me asking, and I chose not to follow it. And then you yourself got butthurt off of advice and help that I never needed or wanted in the first place. So now I'm the villain in the story because I don't want to take your terrible relationship advice because I've seen the terrible relationships you've been in. Am I wrong for this? Am I wrong for this? I feel like I always get stuck in this. So yeah, if you're somebody who likes to give advice, just know you might get disappointed because most people take your advice as a suggestion and choose not to take it. Even with my videos, I know most people are not going to relate to my advice. That is life. But you can't force people to do things and take your advice. It's not a spoonful of sugar that you have to force down someone's throat. Like, come on. So I'm not tolerating that anymore. And anytime a friend gives me advice and I know that they're not the type of person that I want advice from, I tell them, don't give me advice. Please don't. And any mistake that I make is on me. Am I wrong for this? Let me know in the comments. Love you guys. Bye.
I want to know the 3 signs that you're in a one-sided friendship in your 20s. Your friends never, ever, ever hit you up. If you do not initiate contact, you never hear from people. It's actually a ghost town. Friendship should be mutual. So if you're like the only party, the only one of the friendship who's trying to keep it going, who's trying to communicate, who's trying to contact, and don't get me wrong, people get busy, people have lives, I understand that, but it doesn't take 10 seconds. Send a text message and say, hey, checking in, hope you doing good. You can't even get that. When they do reach out to you, it's only when they need something. When they need money, when they need advice, when they need this, that, and the third. That's the only time you hear from them. When things are going good, oh, they gone. Don't get me wrong. As friends, we're supposed to support each other. We're supposed to be there for each other. Love that. But when the only time I hear from you is when your life is in shambles or when you need something, I don't like that. The third sign is that when y'all do talk, they never, ever, ever ask you how you're doing. People will sit here and talk about themselves for hours. Just go on about their life. And you sit here like, cool, really? Whoa, wow, give them the whole sound effects. They don't even have the common decency to be like, hey, how are you doing? How are things going in your life? What are you up to? And I think an honorable mention has to go for the folks who never, ever, ever invite you places. Now, they can invite their other friends to stuff. They can plan stuff with their other friends. And how you know? Because they post about it. They talk about it. Cool. And you just like, oh, really? Wow. When it comes to you, can't do this. They can't do that. Blah, blah, blah. They just start motor mouthing away with excuses. And you're like, wow, this is how you really moving? Noted.